The following is a Red Apple Podcast Network presentation.
They say this is a big rich town. I just come from the poet's part. Bright light, city life, I gotta make it.
Welcome to Dominic Carter's podcast. This is Dominic Carter's City Hall. Now, here's Dominic Carter.
Red Apple Podcast, Talk Radio 77 WABC. You can listen to me, Dominic Carter, weekdays 3 to 4 p.m., then live again weeknights at midnight. The stunning Trump verdict was nothing short of seismic. This is my podcast. Let's go. Some like Joy Behar on the television show The View thought the news was very funny. President Biden answering a Fox News Channel question declaring this could never happen to him. But most fair-minded people see exactly what is going on and are responding the same way. Jesse Waters of the Fox News Channel.
Trump was found guilty because he beat Hillary and is about to beat Joe Biden. I thought I'd be angry, but I feel this cool resignation, this resoluteness that we're wounded as a country and we're not going to go down, that we're going to get back up, we're going to regain our strength, and then we're going to vanquish the evil forces that are destroying this republic.
South Carolina GOP Senator and possible Trump running mate Tim Scott.
I can't believe the hoax, this sham, this absolute injustice justice system. D.A. Bragg and the judge should be ashamed of themselves. This isn't just ridiculous. This actually erodes the confidence that Americans have in the justice system. Unbelievable. Unfreaking believable.
Even presidential candidates from other political parties that want the top job are coming to Trump's defense. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. says Democrats are helping Trump win the election.
I think every time that President Trump has been indicted, that his approval ratings actually increase, his popularity increases. I think there's a large number of Americans who are going to see this as the politicization of and the weaponization of the enforcement agencies. And I think it's going to hurt. It's bad for our democracy. I think the Democrats feel like they have, the DNC feels like it has a candidate that cannot win fair and square in the polls. And so they have to win in the courts. They have to win by clearing the deck and getting their other opponents out of the race. I'm not a fan of President Trump's, but I want to win. I want to beat him in a campaign on a level playing field. I want to talk about his issues, about locking down the economy, shutting down 3.3 million businesses, about running up a $34 trillion debt, about engaging us in forever wars and doing favors for Wall Street. I don't want to beat him in a courtroom. I think it's not good for our country, and I think it's really going to backfire on the Democrats.
And Trump, for his part, appearing on the Fox News Channel, announcing he's not afraid to go to jail.
The judge could decide to say, hey, house arrest or even jail. It could face what that could.
I'm okay with it. I saw one of my lawyers the other day on television saying, oh, no, you don't want to do that to the president. I said, you don't beg for anything. You just, the way it is.
This isn't just any court case. The hush money trial sent shockwaves through the political landscape, and what a coincidence, with the highest office in the land up for grabs. I guess the timing is another coincidence. Do you hear the sarcasm in my voice? How about this novel idea? One set of rules for everyone, and not special 11th hour rules from the bench to nail Trump. How about a neutral judge? An actual random selection of a judge instead of essentially another prosecutor in the courtroom. Texas Governor Greg Abbott on social media put it best. in terms of calling the situation a sham show trial, a kangaroo court. And you can't make this up. With a nice wrap bow, President Biden is cautioning against the dangers regarding claims of a rigged trial.
Before I begin my remarks, I just want to say a few words about what happened yesterday in New York City. The American principle that no one is above the law was reaffirmed. Donald Trump was given every opportunity to defend himself. It was a state case, not a federal case, and it was heard by a jury of 12 citizens, 12 Americans, 12 people like you, like millions of Americans who served on juries. This jury is chosen the same way every jury in America is chosen. It was a process that Donald Trump's attorney was part of. The jury heard 5 weeks of evidence, 5 weeks. And after careful deliberation, the jury reached a unanimous verdict. They found Donald Trump guilty on all 34 felony counts. Now he'll be given the opportunity, as he should, to appeal that decision just like everyone else has that opportunity. That's how the American system of justice works. And it's reckless, it's dangerous, it's irresponsible for anyone to say this was rigged just because they don't like the verdict.
And the president emphasizing the importance of respecting the judicial process.
Thank you. Thank you.
But losing minority support, the president went full attack days earlier before the verdict.
The threat that Trump poses is greater in his second term than his first. It's clear that when he lost in 2020, something literally snapped in the sky. No, I'm serious. That's why January 6th happened, when he unleashed an insurrection. Now he's running again, and he's clearly unhinged. He calls insurrectionists who stormed the Capitol patriots. Patriots. If reelected, he wants to pardon, quote, every one of them. Let me ask you, what do you think he would have done on January 6th if black Americans had stormed it? Think about this. What do you think would have happened if black Americans had stormed the Capitol? I don't think he'd be talking about pardons.
This is a case where if they can do this to me, they can do this to anyone. These are bad people. These are, in many cases, I believe, sick people. And this can't be allowed to happen to other presidents. It should never be allowed to happen in the future. But this is far beyond me. This is bigger than Trump. This is bigger than me. This is bigger than my presidency. And the people understand it because I just see a poll just came out, the Daily Mail. That was the first one, came out. It was done last night right after the verdict, where I'm up 6 points. 6 points from what we already were. We were leading fairly substantially. We're up 6 points in the Daily Mail poll. Now, maybe other polls come out and says something differently, but a lot of people have predicted it because the public understands and they understand what's going on. This is a scam. There's a rigged trial. It shouldn't have been in that venue. We shouldn't have had that judge. He should have allowed us to have an election expert.
District Attorney Alvin Bragg chimed in.
I did my job. Our job is to follow the facts and the law without fear or favor. And that's exactly what we did here. And what I feel is just gratitude to work alongside phenomenal public servants who do that each and every day in matters that you all write about and make the press, and in lots of matters that you don't. I did my job. We did our job. Many voices out there. The only voice that matters is the voice of the jury, and the jury has spoken. The 12 everyday jurors vowed to make a decision based on the evidence and the law, and the evidence and the law alone. Their deliberations led them to a unanimous conclusion beyond a reasonable doubt that the defendant, Donald J. Trump, is guilty of 34 counts of falsifying business records in the first degree to conceal a scheme to corrupt the 2016 election. And while this defendant may be unlike any other in American history, we arrived at this trial and ultimately today at this verdict in the same manner as every other case that comes through the courtroom doors, by following the facts and the law and doing so without fear or favor.
But there is more from Team Trump. His son, Eric Trump, discussing the millions that have come in post-verdict.
This might be a little inside information, but as I was leaving my house about 37 seconds ago, I asked my wife, what are we up to now? And she said, just in terms of small dollar, we're well over $70 million. This is $21 donations, $43 donations, right? Small dollar donations. If you add the large dollar donations to it, you're over $200 million, but you're over $70 million. And by the way, Maria, 30% of those people have never been seen before by a political party, right? I mean, these are Americans who are pissed off. They're coming out of the woodwork, and they want to support a guy that they just believe is getting bamboozled by a system. And we saw it with impeachment 1. We saw it with impeachment 2. We see it where they weaponize every liberal DA and AG across the country with one intent, to take him down, to slander him, to ruin his reputation, to try and divide his family, to try and bankrupt him, to throw him in jail, to do whatever the hell they can do. And America sees through it. They know exactly what's going on.
And his father adding that he wanted to testify.
Now, I would have testified. I wanted to testify. The theory is you never testify, because as soon as you testify, anybody, if it were George Washington, don't testify, because they'll get you on something that you said slightly wrong, and then they sue you for perjury. But I didn't care about that. I wanted to. But the judge allowed them to go into everything that I was ever involved in, not this case, everything that I was ever involved in, which is a first. In other words, you could go into every single thing that I ever did. Was he a bad boy here? Was he a bad boy there? And my lawyer said, what do you need to go through? And all you wanted to do is testify simply on this case. Because I would have loved to have testified. To this day, I would have liked to have testified.
Just hours after the verdict, Trump went to dinner with a special group of about 15 people, including our owner-operator, John Katsimatidis, who had just landed from a flight from attending a conference in Athens, Greece. He spoke to my colleague, Rita Cosby.
Well, it was a wonderful dinner. It was only about 15 people plus staff. And he was in very high spirits. His son, Eric, was with him. He went around the table, and these 15 people are top people. This is the triple, not the A list, not the A list. It was the triple A list, and he wanted to discuss what was happening, and he wanted to discuss solutions, and it was a very great evening, and he was in high spirits. And everybody in that room believes that if there's not a change in Washington, that it could be the end of the free world.
You know, it's interesting, John, because he said earlier today that November 5th is the most important day in the history of our country. He resonated that, it sounds like, obviously tonight, too. He does believe the stakes are that high. And I think probably a lot of other people in the room and a lot of people listening tonight feel the same way.
Rita, 100%. He went around the room, asked everybody their opinion of who should be vice president. I'm not going to give you details, but it's the names that we have all been talking about the last few weeks. Who had more votes? I mean, I would say the top selections were Tim Smith and Doug Burgum.
Yep, Tim Scott and Doug Burgum, yep.
Yeah, and Mike Pompeo, and that lady.
Nikki Haley.
And a lot of people picked Nikki Haley, and a lot of people said, see, I'm using things in abstract, so we don't attribute anything to any particular person. A lot of people said, I hate Nikki Haley, but John Kennedy hated Lyndon Baines Johnson. And he got elected because he picked Lyndon Baines Johnson. And a lot of people said to Trump, we don't like Nikki Haley, but she might make the difference. I'll give you one remark that I made. The one remark I made was the fact that not only should he pick the vice president, he should pick the entire, something that's never been done before. Pick the entire cabinet and say, this is going to be my Secretary of Defense. This is going to be my Secretary of State. This is going to be my Secretary of Commerce. Then everybody, you're running as a team. The other thing I was very vocal about, and maybe out of the 15 people, maybe I was, I guess WABC has taught me how to be more vocal.
By the way, I like the idea about picking the entire cabinet. That was a really smart idea,
it's never
John.
been done before.
Yep.
Rita, it's never been done before, but here's my team. This is the team that's going to run the world. And I think that's, me, I think it's important. I don't know if there's a law against it, but it is what it is.
And there was more of the conversation between our owner-operator, John Catsimatidis, and my colleague, Rita Cosby.
Where do you see him going also in terms of the fight? Did he talk at all about the legal case? Because we heard a little bit tonight.
Well,
obviously.
the one thing, there's a system that they might be able to take it to the Supreme Court.
Yep.
Because we talked about it at 5 o'clock, that somebody in this country has to stand up for the rule of law. And what's going on, it's like, the joke we tell at 5 o'clock is like you're being convicted in Mayberry,
North Carolina, right.
North Carolina, or remember the movie My Cousin Vinny?
Yeah.
I mean, this is a joke.
It is incredible.
There is no. This is a joke, but the problem is, it's being the whole world is laughing at the United States of America.
Yeah, we look like fools, John. We look like a banana republic, and America is better than that. Yeah, I agree.
And not only do we look like a banana republic, that there are no checks and balances, and nobody has the courage to stand up and say this is wrong.
You know, the thing I think about, too, John, and you, I'm sure, felt that tonight when you had your exclusive dinner there with President Trump, John Catsimatidis, that who else could handle this? I mean, the incoming of all the things, with all the trials and then dealing with this today. And then he came out and, said, I'm an innocent guy. We're going to keep fighting. I mean, talk about the fortitude. And you and I have talked about this on the show at 5 on Katz and Cosby, where we really need a warrior. The world's a mess. If anybody, what a contrast.
He's the only one that has the courage to stand up and help make a difference in the world. The other advice I had given him, I said, Mr. President, I said, you got to stop your people from beating up the common sense Democrats and from beating up the common sense independents, because you need them all. I mean, you don't want to beat up people that don't want to, they want to have a place to go. And that's very important.
Yeah,
the extreme right, Rita, and I've said it on our show many times, the extreme right or the extreme left is not good for our country. Our country, we have to make sure our country makes it to the year 2076, the 300th year of our country. And we're not going to make it We're not going to make it unless we bring America together and bring all the people together, bring Democrats, common sense Democrats together, along with common sense Republicans and common sense independents, and act as Americans, not just loyal Democrats, not just loyal Republicans. Act as Americans. What's good for America? And that's the most important thing. And we also discussed the migrant crisis in great detail. And his reports are, as the former president, is that there's as much as 18 to 20 million people coming into the country.
Wow.
And a lot of them are coming from countries that we've never heard of, and they don't even speak a language that anybody knows. And a lot of them are they're emptying the jails. They're emptying the prisons of those countries and sending them to us. What is going on? And I mean, when we used to talk about Bizarro World.
John Catsimatidis talking to Rita Cosby just hours after the Trump verdict. Trump is set to be sentenced July 11th, days before Republicans nominate him for president.
Americans love using their credit cards, the most secure and hassle-free way to pay. But D.C. politicians want to change that with the Durbin-Marshall credit card bill. This bill lets corporate megastores pick how your credit card is processed, allowing them to use untested payment networks that jeopardize your data security and rewards. Corporate megastores will make more money, and you pay the price. Tell Congress to guard your card, because Americans lose when politicians choose. Learn more at guardyourcard.com.
And that is all the time we have for this episode. Thank you, folks, for joining us. You can catch me live on 77 WABC, weekdays 3 to 4 p.m., then back again live weeknights at midnight. Go check out the Dominic Carter merchandise at the 77 WABC store. From Dominic Carter t-shirts to hats and much more, go to WABCRadiostore.com. You can also order my remarkable book on my life of overcoming obstacles that you can't even begin to imagine at the 77 WABC store. The book is titled No Mama's Boy. You can also get it at my personal website, DominicCarterOnline.com, DominicCarterOnline.com, where the book will be personally signed by me. We will see you the next time right here. Dominic Carter, Red Apple Podcast, Talk Radio 77, WABC.
I gotta make it.
Dominic Carter Socials on Twitter at Dominic TV and Facebook and Instagram. Dominic Carter TV. Email at dominic.carter@wabcradio.com. Until the next episode, be well. And as Dominic always says, stay positive. The glass is always half full, never half empty. Dominic Carter City Hall.